Hey guys, I'm very excited to do this podcast, especially because today our special guest is a teammate of ours, Becky Ellis, the filmmaker behind many of our videos, and actually the person very much behind this podcast. This podcast has been her idea, and she kind of took it off the ground. Becky Ellis, it would be kind of funny to say welcome to you because this is very much your idea, this whole podcast, but welcome anyway. How are you?
Thank you. Great to be here.
Well, I think our students would be discovering you for the first time, even though you've been one of the longest running members of our team. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm actually originally from Cincinnati. I'm not from Boston. I came here to go to grad school at BU, where I studied film production, and then I graduated back in 2013, and I couldn't find a real job, so I got an internship here and parlayed that into a job.
So what got you interested in filmmaking in the first place?
I was always really into movies when I was a kid. I was really sheltered, so they were sort of my window to the world. So, the first time I saw Star Wars, I thought it was the coolest thing.
By the way, how old were you when you saw Star Wars?
I was 3, because I remember when we recorded it on TV, and we still have that VCR tape at my parents' house, and there's commercials for the 1987 cars. And so I was like, oh my God, I was 3 when this was happening.
Yeah, I can't believe you watched Star Wars as a 3-year-old because my daughter Maria, who is turning 5 now, I actually showed her Star Wars when she was 3.5. And for the longest time, she called it Star Horse, not Star Wars, like Star Horse, Star Horse. But she said, Daddy, this is so boring.
It might seem boring to like kids these days because the editing is so much faster and everything, but it was still the 80s when I saw it, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Now, one might say that you being here at MIT while wanting to be a filmmaker is somewhat unnatural. Would you say that?
Yeah, it's actually something I've thought about a lot. I still like to work on my own projects on the side, but this has afforded me with a really cool opportunity to be able to be creative, but also be in this sort of entrepreneurial ecosystem. It's been teaching me a lot about just trying new things, despite the fact that I wanted to go into film. I've always had an aversion to that. So I think it's a really good environment. I really believe in the importance of education and in democratizing education and making it free for people around the world, and that's what we do. So I think we're doing really cool stuff, and I don't know, maybe one day I'll get funding and make a feature, but right now I really love what I'm doing.
Well, let me ask you about the importance of education, not through the lens of saying, well, tell me why education is important. We kind of believe in that. That's why we're here together. But tell us your perspective on why education is important.
Well, I think there's several factors. Looking at it as an American, there's certainly a huge issue there where I think if we want the United States to continue to have a successful economy, we need to put more emphasis on education because we are lagging behind so far in particularly math and science. But beyond that, I think one of the main reasons education is important is because even though our society is supposedly a meritocracy, there's still a lot of classism built into the system. And education is sort of your ticket to success if you weren't just born into it. I mean, some people are just born into
Has it
families.
been for you?
A bit, yeah. I mean, I was just sort of normal middle class, but the school I went to was not good. My high school they used to call it welfare high, So it actually was kind of weird coming to Boston because literally every single one of my friends went to like either a private school or like a really fancy public school. I was like the only one that went to like a really crappy school. But yeah, I mean, I think giving equal access to everyone for education is somewhat of an equalizer and can be helpful in some ways, although it doesn't fix the whole problem, but it's part of the solution.
Yeah. Well, you and I have been working together on reviewing work in Entrepreneurship 101 and Entrepreneurship 102, taking stock of what we've done well, what we've done poorly. Why don't you give our students a sense of what you found, how you think these courses need to be changed, where they do well, perhaps?
So it's interesting. I kind of have a weird perspective on it because I came in as an intern when we were releasing the first course. So I really had...
And by the way, Becky is no longer an intern. She's very much not an intern. She's been such an amazing intern. We had to have her on the team.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, no.
Just want to make it clear.
So I've actually been like.
We do not
paid
keep
working
people here for like several years
Yeah.
as just interns.
So I
you
started
know?
as an intern. I've been working here like as an actual full-time job for 2 years, paid. But when I came on as an intern, I was sort of coming in at the middle of it. I had no creative input. I was just sort of, doing what I could to help out with editing and shooting and whatever. So when you had me go back and look at the work we had done from that very first course, it was kind of a weird experience because it was almost like things I felt like I'd never really seen because I'd never been able to look at it through that lens. I think there's certainly some technical issues that we had, but I think that's to be expected for sort of our first outing. But I think there was like sort of a scrappiness to Entrepreneurship 101 that I think the students that I've spoken with seem to appreciate.
Yeah, the medium is the message, right? If you're teaching entrepreneurship, you will do it in an entrepreneurial way. And by the way, I think we lost that loving feeling in Entrepreneurship 102.
I think ideally it would be sort of a marriage of the two. Like, I like how Entrepreneurship 102 is more streamlined. It's a bit easier to go through, but yeah, it's a bit dull. So I think ideally we could have a bit of the sort of the streamlined nature of 102 and the quality. Because I mean, honestly, there are some videos in 101 where, because we were rushing so fast, there were some whack edits that are happening that I'm looking forward to fixing. But there was an energy there that I think we lost, and I think if we can sort of get both of those things, it would be perfect.
I think it's a story in and of itself of entrepreneurship and how it develops. In the beginning, it's kind of crazy, right? And you want to get a little less crazy as you go, but you can't lose the loving feeling. I mean, with what I said, I think you could pretty much describe a lot of things in life.
Yeah.
Like marriage, I mean, anything, right?
Yeah.
Politics, a new country is born is a little crazy, but we can't forget our principles. Sometimes in our group we do speak in metaphors that are transferable from one domain of human life to another: entrepreneurship, marriage, democracy. Well, anyways, you're actually working now on Entrepreneurship 103.
Yes.
Give our students a preview.
So the way we filmed 103 was in the style of sort of a late night talk show. And the original plan was to have sort of a 20-minute, basically like a television episode. In viewing it in retrospect, now that we have all the footage, I think we're going to probably break it into smaller bits, particularly after getting feedback from students about Entrepreneurship 101 and 102. And it seems like they prefer, and I'd like you guys to comment on this when we put this podcast up, that they seem to prefer the shorter length of videos. So that's likely what we're going to do. But stylistically, we built a whole set, and we had basically Erdine as a host for the show, and then Bill was sort of his co-conspirator, and then we'd have entrepreneurs as guests, and they'd play little games to demonstrate how they had gone through Bill's steps with their business. So I think it's going to be pretty cool. I mean, certainly I think the best thing that we got out of it is now Erdine and Bill are so comfortable being on, well, you and Bill, I'm talking like you're not here. You and Bill are so comfortable talking on camera to each other that you've got a really good rapport, and I think that's
the guy.
Going to be awesome. Yeah. Well, it's weird because obviously you liked him before, but I think you guys were like just not used to being on camera, so sometimes it didn't come across, but now it totally does.
Yeah, no, obviously, and it comes through in the videos. I like Bill a lot. I'm grateful to him. Probably it's a story for another time, but he's one of the people that are responsible for me working at MIT. So I'll be forever grateful for him for that opportunity. And the feedback we want to hear from you students is we're implementing this model of having a host in a course, and it's not a usual thing to have a host in the course. It's not how most courses are done, especially courses in a traditional brick and mortar classroom. But we have a feeling that it might be useful because you've got a professor and you've got a person who is working on translating some of the knowledge, building the connection between the professor and the student body. But please tell us if you think this is valuable or not. I mean, it'd be kind of cool to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, and I mean, that really goes for everything, is we want as much feedback as possible. Because I think with a lot of decisions we made early on, I mean, obviously the first time you make something, you can't have the feedback because it hasn't been released yet. But I think even after that, we made a lot of decisions without getting as much feedback as I think we could have. And I think that's something that we really want to work on in the future.
Yeah, so, we're doing this as we go. This is our third podcast. It's really cool to do it with Becky. You know, she's been a long-standing and very important member of our team. And, we like being here as a team. We have interests that we bring to the table, personal, professional interests. It's fun being here, but we're about work as well, to bring you excellent knowledge that can help you in your lives. And please be with us on this journey. Tell us what you think. Tell us how we can get better. Believe us, our skin is tough. We can hear the feedback.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, cool. Stay tuned for the next one. Thank you as always for your interest, for your motivation to learn, and let's make the world a better place.
All right. Woo.